Hey everyone, Azrach here, and today we're looking at the black suit Superman action figure from Mafex based on the 2021 movie Zack Snyder's Justice League. If anyone is wondering about the diorama I'm using, this is the Asylum pop-up diorama from Extreme Sets. I got this on Amazon, and if you want to buy something similar, please use my affiliate link below to help out the channel. So looking at Superman up close, he does look like a really good figure with a lot of good details. There are a few bad points as well, but we'll go through them later on. But the Superman is really well made. It feels really sturdy and hefty as well, so it has that premium feel to it. The additional head sculpt that comes with Superman, this was not the default head sculpt, is a really good likeness to Henry Cavill. And I think this is the only head sculpt that actually captures Henry Cavill well. The other head sculpts are alright, but they're reused from the previous version of Superman, so they're not that good. The body is also a reuse, but the shoulder joints have been redone, so that's a plus point. But the ankle joints are still the same, because they don't have the ball joint that the later figures have, and it's just like a double peg system here, so it's not the best. The texture to the suit and the hieroglyphics on the chest look incredible. They're very detailed, light catches it perfectly, and there's no issues or any faults whatsoever. Texturing on the whole suit of the body is really nice as well. The belt and the additional details on the suit is done really well, and it's all around the figure as well. It's even on the back, they haven't left anything undone. It's a lot of good detail and a lot of sculpting, but this was a carryover from the previous sculpt, so it's still a good thing, but it's not redone, so it's a reuse. In terms of the diaper and the hips, they do look a little bit weird because they're drooping down on the sides here. I think they're going for that seamless kind of look, which could have been done better. I can see what they were going for, but it's not executed in the best way possible. There is a slight color variation in the legs and the body. The body is a little bit more shiny and the legs are a little bit more matte, but they're still shiny enough to reflect light. So it is a little bit of a color difference, but it's not too much, but it adds to just giving that figure a little bit of extra detail or texture, which is really nice. Overall, I'd say that this figure does look really nice and the proportions are captured pretty well. The hands do look a little bit small, but other than that, the figure is very eye-catching and the details are very spot on. So I would say that the figure is very well made, and first appearances, it looks really nice. So unfortunately, this action figure does not come with too many additional accessories. He does come with 2 additional pairs of hands and 3 extra head sculpts. The head sculpt that I had on Superman in the intro is the angry head sculpt that was sculpted specifically for this action figure. It's the heat version head sculpt in Zack Snyder's Justice League when he's lasering or heat visioning Steppenwolf. But the other 3 head sculpts I think are reuses, and they're not the best likeness. They do use the face painting technology, but they still can't capture Henry Cavill's likeness. Looking at the additional pairs of hands, we get the open kind of splayed out hands that you can use for many different poses, and you also have the more natural kind of relaxed hands, and they would be very useful as well in different poses, but they're not too emotive, and Superman unfortunately only comes with a pair of fists that are already on the figure, so there's not a lot to choose from here. With the heads, we get a neutral looking head, and this is definitely a reuse from the previous version of Superman. It's the Blue Suit Justice League version of Superman. It's painted really well, it's sculpted really well, it's just not Henry Cavill, so that's the only drawback I can see for this action figure head. The next head sculpt we get is the slightly annoyed version of Henry Cavill. It doesn't resemble Henry Cavill again, but it does emote a little bit, and it's slightly more annoyed and more angry, so that does look pretty nice. It just adds to that variety you can get on this figure. Now here we have the last of the additional head sculpts. It's a more grimacing kind of face. It does have a lot of emotion showing through. Superman's really angry at something and he is not afraid to use force. So it conveys that really clearly. It's a really good head sculpt in terms of conveying that emotion, but it's still not Henry Cavill. So now, unfortunately, I do not have the authentic version of the Justice League Superman, but I do have the KO version that's standing right next to Superman here. Well, the KO version is not a good action figure. It has a lot of problems. There's a lot of looseness to the figure, and it's using the older shoulder sculpt. So you can see there's no butterfly. The new one has a butterfly, and I think that's an improvement. For articulation, the Superman should get a lot of articulation because Mafex usually does really well with the articulation. So the head sculpt can look up quite a bit, so no issues there. He can bury the chin, no issues. Side to side tilt. He should get into pretty good flight poses. His shoulders can go up that much, which is a little bit better than the previous joint. On the KO figure and the Batman figure I have from Justice League, the shoulders can't go up that high. They can also butterfly. There is a full rotation, no issues there. Bicep swivel, pretty nice. Double jointed elbows, that can go in that much, so it's not that bad. Hinge, ball hinge at the wrist, so up and down, round and round, no issues there. With the torso, he can crunch forward that much, crunch back that much, so that's a great range of motion. Same with the bottom joint here, so you can go forward that much, go back that much, and it's a little bit gappy if you go too far back, but you can always work around with the articulation. Side to side is no issues whatsoever. He can turn around 180, even 360 if need be, and even at the bottom is the same thing. So that's really good articulation at the torso. The legs can drop down a little bit, so that should increase the range of motion slightly, which is actually not that good. Without the drop down hinge, it still kicks up that much, so I think it's just because the trunk piece is more flexible. So the kick forward is not that bad. The kick back is hindered by the sculpted butt, which is okay. The thighs can pretty much swivel all the way, so that's awesome. Double joint in the knees, that can go really well, so that's a really crunchy knee. And the ankles, I'm a little bit disappointed because it's the old sort of joint where there's a dumbbell inside rather than like a hinge ball peg. The articulation at the toe is pretty crunchy, so no issues there, and it functions really well. It does have a little bit of stiffness to it as well, so it's difficult to push, which is good because it's not loose. So now over to my favorite part of the video. We're looking at Superman in comparisons with other action figures. This figure is standing at about a little bit over 16 centimeters, which is about 6.3 inches. So here we have two other Mafex action figures. On the left, we've got the DCEU Justice League Cyborg action figure from Mafex, and on the right, we've got the DCEU Justice League Batman action figure, again from Mafex. So next up, we've got the BMS Black Suit Superman on the left. This is a third-party action figure, and on the right, I've got a custom action figure that I created on my own. I used the Mezco knockoff Superman action figure from BVS. I dyed the suit black and used a Mix Max body food body for the body and a mandible head sculpt to create the Superman. So it's a custom figure. Next up, on the left, we've got the Man of Steel for action figure from Mattel, and on the right, we've got the Justice League Mattel Flash action figure. Next up, we've got the DC Direct DCEU line. This line did have two action figures that I think they are pretty good action figures. The line could have done a lot better if they continued, but unfortunately DC decided to pull the plug after these two action figures. On the left, we've got the BVS Superman, and on the right, we've got the armored Batman from BVS. So next up, we've got the BVS Superman from Mezco on the left. It's got a Maniple 2.0 head sculpt, so it's definitely an upgrade, definitely looks more like Henry Cavill. But yeah, I definitely dig this figure a lot, and it's one of my favorite figures even now. Here we have the Batman and Flash action figures from DC Icons. They're a 6-inch line and they have been discontinued since, but they're pretty good action figures and scale pretty well with Mafex figures in general. Next up, we've got the whole lineup of Justice League action figures from McFarlane Toys. On the extreme left, we've got the Aquaman. After that, we've got Wonder Woman. After that, we've got the blue and red variant of Superman. On the right of the black suit Superman, we've got the tactical suit Batman. Right next to him, we've got the Cyborg action figure, and on the extreme right, we've got the Flash action figure. So next up, we've got the McFarlane Toys, Darkseid, and Steppenwolf action figures for the DC Multiverse line. And I think that these action figures actually go better with the Mafex Justice League because of the size difference. Steppenwolf and Darkseid definitely do need to be a lot taller, and the Mafex Justice League are more accurately scaled to the McFarlane, Darkseid, and Steppenwolf. So in conclusion, I think that this is a definite improvement from the Justice League version of Superman. It's worth a pickup if you want that black suit Justice League Snyder Cut version of Superman on your shelf. The upgraded shoulders and the shoulder hinges are really adding to the action figure and the posability which is a definite plus. The ankles that have not been updated is a miss. I think that upgrading those would have been really awesome. The trunks are also a problem in this action figure. They do hinder the posability quite a bit. So I think that if they had upgraded that, that would have been awesome as well. The heat beam head sculpt that comes with this action figure is also worth it. It does resemble Henry Cavill. The other three head sculpts, not as much because they're reused from the previous version of Superman. Overall, I think that this Superman is a small upgrade. If you don't have the previous version, you'll definitely find a lot of value in purchasing this guy. If you have the previous version and if you have the leak complete, you might not want to spend money on this guy. So there you have it, guys. I hope this review of Zack Snyder's version of Black Suit Superman was worth your time. Hopefully this review gives you some insight as to what the figure is like, the articulation, and hopefully it's useful in making your purchasing decision. This figure, I think, is still available at retail price. So shop around, you might find him for a good price. It's definitely a good figure, and if you like this video, please leave a like. If you have anything to let me know about, if you've seen my Instagram videos recently about my 3D printed action figure, maybe let me know about that as well in the comments. Or even if you want to talk about this action figure or Zack Snyder's Justice League or the Snyderverse, talk to me in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this one and also 3D printed action figures, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.